Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Rye House Kart Raceway for the 2022 Rye House London Cup. I am super excited for today's racing, and it's going to be fantastic. Whether you're here at the Rye House circuit, listen to me on the circuit commentary, or whether you're at home watching on the live stream, a very warm welcome. And it is not much of a warm welcome. It's very, very chilly today here at Rye House in Hoddesdon, of course, and it's a little bit damp as well. You can see there from those shots in the paddock, a few little puddles still holding on for dear life there, and it is still a little bit slippery out on track. So it's going to be a bit of a difficult one, deciding between wets and dries to start off with anyway, but I think we're supposed to see some more clear blue skies throughout the day, and hopefully a little bit more sunshine as well. So that's your weather forecast over, and we're going to get into some racing very, very soon. Now, of course, we've already had a day of action yesterday here at Rye House. Some qualifying sessions, some practice sessions, and some heats as well, but of course it depends on which class. I'll quickly run you through that. So we've already had the qualifying sessions for the IAME Bambinos, the Bambino Comers, and the Honda Cadets, and we've also had the first heat for the Sodi Micromaxes, the Junior Rotaxes, the Senior Rotaxes, and the 177 Rotaxes. So today we've got heats and we've got finals. The first round of heats will be heat number 1 for the IAME Bambinos, Como Bambinos and Honda Cadets, and then heat number 2 for the Sodi Micromaxes, Junior Rotax, Senior Rotax and 177 Rotax. Then we go on to heat 2s and heat 3s, and then on to finals. Now, all races today are going to be 8 minutes long plus 1 lap, so super quick races, not even time to think about what's going on. You've just got to send it and try and get as many positions as you can, as quickly as possible. And that's really the goal for today. And of course, you could win the London Cup for your class. What an honour, what an achievement, and what a fantastic venue to be having this at. Of course, one of the longest running races that we held here at Rye House. I've recently started commentating at Rye House in 2022. I've now done the IKR and I've done the RHPK as well. It's always brilliant racing, but today is something like I've never seen before. The amount of hustle and bustle around the paddock, the excitement, the amount of people here enjoying themselves, getting involved and going racing. It's going to be fantastic, and I am super excited. Now, of course, the Rye House circuit, 8 corners in total, 950 metres in length. Quite a short lap. Of course, now with it being a little bit more damp, the timings of the laps are going to be a little bit longer than we would expect, but usually in the dries, the drivers are looking at around sort of high 30 seconds, low 40 seconds, and then for the Bambinos, closer to the 50-second mark for a lap. So over an 8-minute race, we are going to get a decent amount of laps, and of course this circuit with those 8 corners, a lot of opportunities to overtake. So they're going to have to get that done during the heats. Those heats will then set the grid for the final. So of course, if you throw it away in one of the heats, it's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world. You can bring it back in the later heats, get yourself a good position for the final, and the final, that's where it really matters. That's where you get your prize, and that's where you want to be on the podium, or you really want to be in that top spot. But of course, only one person can get that top spot in each class. So it's going to be a difficult fight through the day. But as I say, I for one am very excited. I'm sure you are as well. Now, we are indeed live streaming. If you're at the circuit and you didn't realise, today we are live streaming the races. So make sure you head over to the Motorsport Radio YouTube, Facebook or Twitch channels. We'll be live over there all day, and also on the Rye House YouTube and Facebook pages as well. So make sure you go over there and share it with all your mates. So you got anyone that you want to watch it, if you're a driver, if you're a mum or dad, if you're any other kind of supporter and you want a family friend, anyone to join in and watch and support, make sure you head over to those socials and share it with all of them. So indeed, we've got one more practice session to go, I do believe. We finished the Senior Rotax practice session. They get 5 minutes of practice this morning, each class. We should have the 177 Rotaxes, I believe, so 5 more minutes of practice where we'll be seeing them heading around the circuit. And also, watch out for some dinosaurs. If you've never been to Rye House before, you might be wondering, why is there a Stegosaurus on my screen? They've got lots of different activities down here at Rye House and lots of different things to get involved with. Not only a fantastic kart circuit, but also some dinosaurs to get involved with as well. So if you've never been down to Rye House before, make sure you come down at some point, because it is a fantastic little venue. So loads of things to get involved with, not only for the adults, but for the kids as well. And I also know after watching the RHPK as well, they have the Senna Cup that mirrors that championship, and a lot of feeding through from there. And then also after that, there's races for kids as well. So loads of ways to get involved and for to sort of go up the ranks here at Rye House and get involved in more professional karting until you get to this sort of level, something like the London Cup. A really, really high-level karting event, and the amount of drivers involved today is fantastic. I couldn't believe it how many people were here, and some big grids. Now, I did believe we had another practice session, but I have heard in my ear they definitely don't seem to be the 177s in the pit lane. They are a little bit too small to be the 177s. So I do believe that's actually the Bambino Comers. So whether we've missed out on the 177s or whether they ended up going earlier on in the day, anyway. But it does sound like the drivers are going to be exiting the pit lane in just a second, and here they come then. So let's get involved. The first heat of the day for the 2022 London Cup, of course, the Bambino Comers. Let's run you through the grid that was decided in yesterday's qualifying session. We've got Dewey Hockridge on pole position. Alongside him is Marley Wordy. Now, I know Marley Wordy won the Rye House IKR in this category, and he was so fast. He was so clear of the rest of the field. It was amazing to watch, but someone has pipped him to that pole position, so watch out for that number 77 there on pole. Row number 2 is Mason Munzer and Rex Michael Pooley. Row 3, Harry Chapman and Mason Hibbett. Row number 4 is Adam Galudi and Toby Biggs. Then row 5, James Carver and Leo Hunt. Row 6, John Stevens and Ollie West. Row 7, Alfredo Mengzin and Jensen Fathers. And then bringing up the rear of the field is Sophia Page in the number 14. Now you can see parents, guardians, mechanics all on the grid getting ready to go for this one. And of course, the Bambino Comers being a standing start here. You can see the spray, look at that coming off the tyres. Definitely wet tyres to begin here for the first few heats. But as I say, this is where it's going to be interesting. When we get a few races in, we're not expecting any more rain. It's nice and blue skies at the moment. So when are drivers going to decide, okay, this is the time to switch to slick tyres? We may see a couple of races where some decide to stay on wet, some decide to go to slicks, and it could produce some interesting racing and some possible upsets here. But we're getting this grid set up. 15 drivers on the grid here for Bambino Comer Heat 1. And it's sure to be fantastic. There's the number 77 on the left-hand side of your screen. That's Dewey Hockridge. 48.676 for him in qualifying, alongside the number 11, Marley Wordy, 48.782. So just over a tenth of a second between the fastest two here on the grid for the Comer Bambinos. So we have indeed had a slight change in schedule, just a swap of the first two. Comer Bambinos coming first, and IAME Bambinos will be just after. But the drivers all getting set up now, looking forward to this 8-minute heat to kick off the day. And some beautiful lids on show as well, I must say. Dewey Hockridge's green lid looking fantastic. And we've got the thumbs up from the marshal at the back of the grid. The drivers look to the red lights, wait for them to go out, and once they do, they will be planting the throttle, and we'll be getting the London Cup for 2022 underway. Here go the Bambino Comers, and Marley Wordy has had a very poor start there. Something may be wrong with the kart there. He drops almost right to the back of the pack. But here we go then, through the first couple of corners, through Stadium Bend, and now into Ridder's Elbow. Who is going to take the lead to start this one off? I do believe our pole sitter has taken it, but to the inside is looking for it. There's the 32, but hangs back for now anyway. You've still got 8 minutes ahead of you, so let's not throw it away at the start. Oh, a little bit wide there for the 31 there on exit. That's Rex Michael Pooley, but he dives back up the inside at the second hairpin, but then that sends him wide. He's going to be on a bit of a drag race. It's almost 3 wide now, heading down into pylon. Who's going to grab that second place? And it is the number 32 of Rex who takes that second place as they head through pylon. No, oh no, and Rex has spun it. The 32 just a little bit too much on that accelerator pedal there on exit, and has a little half spin, does Rex. So after a brilliant start, he's now dropped back down to the middle of the pack. So after lap 1, let's read you through your order. Mason Hibbert in the E-plate has taken to the front. Where did he start on the grid? He started in 6th place. What a start for Mason Hibbert. Takes to the front. now being followed by Dewey Hockridge, then it's Mason Munzer and Toby Biggs, and then James Carver, I believe, in 6th position. There is Mason Munzer in that 27 kart. The pink matching lid and kart combination, you love to see it. And he has been quick as well in the Rye House IKR as well. I remember seeing him up there, always fighting for those sort of podium positions, does Mason. Here we follow him now through the pylon, and then Complex Nouvelle. He's got a couple of drivers breathing down his neck. That's Toby Biggs in the 65, James Carver in the 25 just behind. But there was your pole sitter, the number 77 of Dewey Hockridge. And here he comes across the line now. My apologies of who was the spinner. I was completely wrong. I believe it might have actually been Leo Hunt, possibly. I will double check that for you later on in the race, but getting my numbers confused already in the first heat. I do apologise. The 22 clearly has had a little spin, and that's the 65 who's had a bit of a spin. That's Toby Biggs from 5th place round Stadium Bend. Once again, these tricky conditions catching out some of these younger drivers, but manages to get back underway and get back in the race, and has some time to get back involved. So there is the 31. That is Rex Michael Pooley in 2nd place. He was who I thought had that spin earlier. I'll take that back entirely. He has not spun. He is very much there in 2nd position. The 45 there as well. That's Alfredo Mengzin, just recovering from a little spin. So these slower karts, they mean that the drivers can take a lot more speed into the corner. But in these conditions, of course, it's very different. You cannot take nearly as much speed, and so some of the drivers slightly over-egging it into the corner, just losing that back end. And with the low power of these karts, of course, to catch a slide, you want to stamp on the throttle, but there's really not much to give once you stamp on that throttle. So as soon as you begin to get into that half spin, it's very, very difficult to get out of it. Here's a little battle going on, though. This is for 5th place. Harry Chapman versus Mason Munzer here, heading down into hairpin 1. Currently going the way of the 32 of Harry Chapman. Mason Munzer tries to get a good line out of the corner and go up and under there, but doesn't quite work out this time around. Exiting hairpin 2 now. We're almost halfway through our first heat of the day. A warning's gone out to the number 22 of Ollie West. He's currently sat in 15th. Had a bit of a slow lap on that last one, so I think possibly a little incident for Ollie, and that might be why he's got his warning there. But there they come then, exiting the final corner to start another lap. There's the 32 of Harry Chapman in 5th place. So they are definitely closing in on your 4th and 3rd place drivers. James Carver in the 25 and Dewey Hockridge in the 77. Dewey on pole position. Was very, very quick in the dry yesterday, and it's proving he's quick now in the wet as well. Down the inside, though, at hairpin 1 goes the 32. A little bit deep, could be got on the exit there, but no, manages to keep it together. Put the power down on exit and takes away the place. So Harry Chapman moves past James Carver and moves himself up into 4th position. And now has his sights set on that podium spot, as every extra position gives you some extra points towards your total, and that then decides the grid for the final. Mason Hibbert on the E-plate, still in the lead of this one. We haven't really seen him in this race so far, but it usually shows that you're having a pretty good race if the stream never really sees you. He's a good 3.5 seconds in the lead now. And we've only had 5 minutes of this race, so that's a really, really impressive lead to get in the heat. So the E-plate, definitely one to watch, especially from a 6th place start. But look at this, setting up the move is the 32, but watch out for the back marker. That's the 22 of Ollie West. Have to watch out for him. You don't want to get in an incident with a back marker. The back marker rejoining there and just about keeping out of the way of the leaders. So the 32 of Harry Chapman has to think about the move once again. Try and set it up in the last couple of minutes of this race. It seems like he has the pace to do so, though. Harry Chapman with the fastest lap of 56.849. Dewey Hockridge ahead at 57.318, so not quite able to find the same pace as Harry is during this one, which is very understandable. These changeable conditions are extremely difficult to deal with, and these drivers are incredibly young. To race in the Bambino Comers, you've got to be between 5 and 8 years old. That is crazy. I don't think I was doing anything nearly this cool at 5 to 8 years old. And look how quick they are. They're fantastic. Heading now down to the first hairpin once again. Thought about it once again, did Harry Chapman. but not proffering any moves just yet. Anyway, it seems like they've been able to drop the drivers slightly further behind. And here is your second place man on screen. This is the 31 of Rex Michael Pooley. He's in a bit of no man's land at the moment, just a little bit off pace from your leader of Mason Hibbert. That's dropped him to about 4 seconds behind, but then he is about 1.5 seconds ahead of Dewey and Harry in third and fourth place. That was a spin for the 45 there. That's Alfredo Mengzin in 14th there, managing to just about keep it out the barrier though, I believe, and is able to carry on. As the 31 now heads down towards hairpin 1 once again. Less than 1 minute to go here in heat number 1 for the Bambino Comers. And a new fastest lap, actually, from our 8th place runner, Marley Wordy. So whatever happened at the start there for Marley, he's clearly worked it out. Whatever went wrong, Marley Wordy, of course, starting in P2 here. Oh, is that a move down the inside there at pylon? That's your E-plate. So he's just moving his way through the traffic. That is your leader on the E-plate. That's Mason Hibbert. But Marley Wordy started alongside Dewey Hockridge on that front row. Had a problem at the start there, dropped all the way to last place, but is managing to make his way through nicely, and indeed has that fastest lap, only a little bit faster than your leader that you're looking at now on that E-plate. In the last couple of laps as well, Dewey Hockridge had lost a couple of positions, had a bit of a slow lap on that last one, a 1:02, about 4 or 5 seconds slower than he should be, and Harry Chapman and James Carver have managed to slip their way through, as the leader goes a little bit wide there at hairpin 1, has to go round the barriers to re-enter. He's got a good 5-second buffer, so there's no need to push, Mason. There's no need. But the timer has indeed clicked to 0 now. And I shall check. I believe we should be going on to the last lap next time around, or possibly we'll take the checkered flag. We'll double check in this first heat. But Mason has nothing to worry about at the moment. As I say, over 5 seconds that gap at the front. And I do believe that we are going on to the last lap. So 950 metres to go for Mason here to maximise his points from the first race of the day. Of course, as I said earlier, a few of our classes have already had a heat yesterday that would be counting towards the total that will then take them through to the final, and we'll decide those grids for the final. However, Bambino Comers not being one of them. This is their first heat of the weekend. And it looks like Mason is going to be maximising his points. Marley Wordy's grabbed a couple more positions in that last lap, up to 6th place for the number 11. So he's going to be a bit gutted not to maximise the points here from the first heat, but clearly had some difficulties at the start of that one, and I know just how fast Marley Wordy is, so expect to see him up near the front in the next heat. But here comes Mason Hibbert across the line to take the win in heat number 1 in the Bambino Comers here at the 2022 Rye House London Cup. The 31 of Rex Michael Pooley comes across the line to finish in 2nd place. Over 6 seconds was the gap by the end of that. And oh no, the 20 of Jensen Fathers has pulled over to the side on the exit of hairpin 2 on the last lap of the race. 8 minutes, and it decides to give up the ghost on the final lap. That is far from ideal for the number 20. Jensen is going to be so frustrated with that, and he was lapping well as well. So I'm sure, hopefully, his mechanics can get him back underway and ready for heat number 2 later on today. A few more drivers now have crossed the line. Harry Chapman closed out the podium on the number 32, and it was James Carver in 4th, Mason Munzer in 5th place, then Marley Wordy getting back up into 6th, set the fastest lap of the race on the last lap of 56.043 for Marley Wordy. Then number 7, Toby Biggs in the number 65. Then it was Dewey Hockridge, Adam Galudi and Sophia Page rounding out the top 10. That's a good race from her. Started in 15th, did Sophia, up into the top 10. Then John Stevens was 11th. Then Leo Hunt, Ollie West, Alfredo Mengzin, and of course Jensen Fathers not making it to the checkered flag at the end of that one. So frustrating there for Jensen, but hopefully, as I say, he can be out for heat number 2 later on. Those heat number 2s on our schedule anyway, supposed to start at around 11:45, and I believe that the Comers, we can assume, will start those off as well at 11:45. So If you're wanting to catch the Comers, that's when they will next be out, but you don't want to turn off the stream, because even if you're supporting someone in the Bambino Comers and you don't know anyone else in the other races, stick around anyway, because the racing is going to be fantastic, just as that race was. Of course, the younger drivers, a little bit more of a disparity, I would say, between the pace in the field, which I think is understandable. When you're that age, you're just starting to get involved with it, and your level of competency with racing, especially in these difficult conditions, can come on relatively quickly as you're building up your confidence. So it means that depending if someone's done maybe 4, 5, 6 months longer than you, it can really be quite the difference in confidence and strengths around the circuit. So as we work up the engine sizes and the age ranges, as they continue to increase throughout the day, I think we'll see the disparity between pace continue to close. However, I say that, we've got the Honda Cadets coming up in a couple of races' time, and I know that they are always within a tenth of a second. We always have about 15 karts within a tenth of a second, and the slipstreaming is always fantastic. So the Honda Cadet final, that's definitely, it's usually one of my picks to watch during the day. The Honda Cadets are always fantastic. But before that, we've got another fantastic class. The IAME Bambinos, heat number 1, will be going out very shortly. So let's run you through your grid. A slightly smaller one than our Bambino Comers, but still a good grid nonetheless. It's Charlie Page on the number 33 who's lining up on pole position. Darin Dimitrov lines up alongside. Behind him, it's Chester Fawkes, then William Crombie and Oscar Kenny. Then it's Albert Farrow and Freddie Baker rounds out the 7 drivers that took to qualifying yesterday, anyway, that I can see. Pretty sure I'm counting more than 7 out there. Looks more close to 10 for me, so we'll just have to go off whatever it shows me on live timing. Indeed, we do have 10 drivers involved in this race, and that's why, because I'm looking at the wrong grid. This is the Micromaxes that we've got out at the moment, so my schedule is completely wrong. So let's see. I do not have a Micromax grid, I'm afraid, on my back end. So, well, back end of the website, I should say. That was terrible phrasing from me there. It's early morning here at my house. Give me a break. Right, the Micromaxes, here we go then. Looks like it's Adam Turek on pole with Ella Lucia alongside, but we'll let you know after lap number 1 how they settle in. Here we go then to the first corner. Couple of drivers going slightly wide. They're nearly crossing that white line on exit, but managing to keep it on the black stuff and all facing the right direction now. Anyway, one driver, the 24, big slide there on exit, but keeps it all together. And a couple of drivers diving to the... we've got 2 drivers off, down at hairpin 1. One manages to get it going immediately, but another stuck in the grass. That's the number 20 who stuck there. That's Max Wheatley. Went across the line in 2nd place at the start of this race. Now finds himself beached in the grass. Hopefully we'll see him continue, and he has indeed just left the grass with help from a marshal there. A couple of battles exiting. Pylon there. The number 37 holds on to it. That's Elliot Travis, someone I recognise from the Wilton Mill Kart Club on that 37 machine, but now gets overtaken down into the first corner by the 17. And through goes Jack Baker up into 2nd place. But Adam Turasek, he started on pole here and continues to hold the lead for now anyway. And there's a move down the inside late on the brakes there, dives to the apex and gets it done, but on the exit might get overtaken. We've got a driver slowing down. Looks like there's a yellow flag. I think some drivers haven't seen it. It's a red flag here at Rye House. A little bit of confusion there between some of the drivers. Some of them still very much involved in battles and didn't quite spot that red flag, but all the drivers now coming to a controlled, slow pace. And I believe that we're going for another start, as it looks like they're going 2 by 2. Whether we're going to come to a stop here, indeed we are. So I didn't spot an incident that would constitute a red flag to me, but clearly the officials deciding that we're in need of one, and they're getting a bit of a talking to. Just hear Rye House officials there, just letting them know how we're going to get this one restarted. I believe they're all going to be going back to their original grid order. I think I heard that. could be wrong. And it does look like that is exactly what is happening. So the 20 of Max Wheatley is going to be very, very happy with this change. Because Max, of course, had that little spin. We didn't actually catch it on camera, so I'm not sure if he was helped around there or whether he just had that spin on his own or avoiding another incident, because, of course, someone else spun down there as well. But either way, he's going to be very, very happy with that decision, because that puts him back onto the front row. So now they're being told, I can tell just from that hand signal that he was telling them, right, you've got to get this start done this time around, otherwise you'll be put to the back of the grid. That's exactly what we do at Wilton Mill Kart Club as well. You get 3 chances. On that third chance, if we call it a false start, then that is it. I believe we get 1 lap of warm-up here. So yes, indeed, we do. 1 lap of warming up for the drivers. And with those, what would that have been, about a minute and a half of slowdown and stopping and being talked to, those tyres, they already probably weren't particularly warm, being how chilly it is and how moist it is today at Rye House, but now they're going to be absolutely stone dead cold. So the drivers are going to have to try and get a little bit of heat as much as they can into the tyres before we go back to green flag conditions. But equally, that poses its own difficulties, because you don't want to spin it on the warming up lap. Firstly, because you look a very, very silly Billy. And secondly, because then you could not catch up and you could lose your starting position. I've done it myself. I've raced in British University's karting championship, and I've spun it on the warm-up lap in the wet. It's not the ideal place, and you feel like such an idiot. But all the drivers a lot better than me here today, so I wouldn't be expecting that from any of them. But here we go then, through the last couple of corners. Adam Turasek had a great start last time around. Let's see if he can do it once again. Max Wheatley and that 20 kart lining up alongside. Here we go then, second time of asking to the green lights. And we're underway for the Micromax heat number 1. To the inside goes the number 12. The 20 of Max Wheatley forced out wide there by a couple of drivers and now slots into third place. But look at that, round the outside for the number 11, Buddy Hugo. What a move! That was fantastic! Round the outside of 4 or 5 drivers there at the first corner and slots into 5th place, I think he is. What a start from Buddy Hugo, and a fantastic, emphatic move from Buddy, and getting it all slidey out of hairpin 2 as well. Scratch that, he's not in 5th, he's in 4th place on that 11 numbered kart, and now hoping to chase down those leaders. There is your pole sitter on the 20. That's Max Wheatley. Sorry, he was on P2 on the grid, my apologies, of course, on the left-hand side of the grid, and that was how he just got forced out to the wide line, and that allowed for Ella Lucia to just dive up the inside and steal away that second place. Looked to have a better line through that first corner, does Buddy Hugo. I mean, we saw him. He had an incredible line on that first lap, just seemed to have double the amount of grip as everyone else, and sent it all the way around the outside, and continues to be chasing down this leading pack. Ella Lucia all over the rear end of the leader there through the second hairpin. And now they file their way down through pylon. And now into Complex Newell. Buddy Hugo still getting it all sideways, finding out where that grip is. As we said a couple of times, it is continuing to dry here. It's not going to be drying too quickly because it is so cold. However, it will be drying, if indeed slowly. Now look at that, Buddy Hugo has realised, I don't want to give this away to other drivers, but he's realised that that outside line is so much quicker around that first corner than going that usual sort of mid to tight line to then hook up the second apex. If he comes all the way out wide, almost to the white line, and then cuts it back, it's so much faster. So Buddy Hugo has worked that out, but not quite within a shot of stealing that third place just yet. Still good pace from Max Wheatley on the number 20, but indeed Buddy Hugo with the fastest lap of the race so far. 47.600 for Buddy Hugo. And there's a little battle going on behind as well. That was between Jack Baker and Josh Cook for 6th place. We look back to this leading pack though. Once again, Buddy Hugo close, but not close enough here. As we've got a spinner, the 71, that's Elliot Dimolo. He's had a little spin there at the first corner, managed to get it back underway. Looks like no damage to the kart there. Rear bumper seems to be okay, so he won't be getting a mechanical flag. If that falls off, then that's immediate mechanical, has to return to the pits, and that is game over for this first heat. But that was looking all okay, so he continues to carry on. And was in 9th place when the spin happened, possibly now dropping down into P10. Here they come then, across the line. That's Ella Lucia that we see in the 25. In that fantastic pink helmet, contrasting with the green and white of the car. Really stands out there, Ella, so you're making my job a hell of a lot easier, so I appreciate that. On the 25 car, now being chased down by Max Wheatley and Buddy Hugo. Now, I think you'll find here, if the 20 of Max Wheatley can't find a way past too quickly, will that allow for Buddy Hugo to just set on that attack that he's been waiting for the last few laps? Now tick almost over 4 minutes into this one, so nearly halfway done for heat number 1 here in the Micromaxes. A little check over the shoulder as he heads down the start-finish straight for Adam Turasek. Building a very nice gap out in the lead now, and I can imagine Ella is going to become... Oh, that's a lovely move there. Almost didn't spot it, it was so late. The number 11 of Buddy Hugo down the inside. Just as they headed to the second apex there through Stadium Bend, he just dived to the apex, opened the door, squeezed his way through and made it stick. So up into the podium positions for Buddy Hugo. What I was going to say is that now I can imagine Ella Lucia is going to be thinking a lot more about the drivers behind than possibly Adam, who's still far ahead. But often it can be, if you start focusing behind you, that's often where you end up going. So she's got to try and focus ahead to Adam, although Adam is just slowly building out that lead. It was 1.5 seconds last time around. Now they come across the line, it's up to 1.8 seconds between the top two. Confirmed on your timing now, Buddy Hugo up to 3rd, and now has his eyes set on that 2nd place. A 3-way battle for 2nd now. He tries the up and under into the first hairpin, but thinks better of it. Late on the brakes from Max Wheatley behind, manages to keep it all under control, but no moves this time around anyway. If you're wanting to see the timing, if you want to get it up alongside our stream, or whether you're beside the circuit and just want to see what's going on the timing, head over to live.alphatiming.co.uk/RYE. Of course, that's RYE. And that will give you all of the live timing for today's action. And then to get all of the results once that action is finished, if you head to results.alphatiming.co.uk/RYE. So results.alphatiming for the results, live.alphatiming for the live timing, and you'll be able to find everything you need over there. But obviously have that alongside the live stream as well, because otherwise you're going to miss out on the action. We're seeing it firsthand here, and Buddy Hugo is all over the back of the 25 of Ella Lucia. He's only got 2 minutes to try and squeeze a move here. Oh, I thought he was going to go to the outside there, and Ella hadn't seen. That could have been an incident there, but well thought out by these young drivers, and well planned by Buddy there. Saw exactly what was going to happen and immediately pulled out of the move, because there's no point in throwing everything away for just one extra position, especially when you're in the first heat of the day. Because although these heats don't give you any sort of trophies or anything like that, it's all building up towards the final. You want to be consistent throughout the day, build up those positions, build up your point score, and that means that you can be on a good grid spot and within a shot of that London Cup for your category, for your classification of cars. And Buddy thought about it once again there, just looking at the apex, and goes wide there in the wall. That was a big incident for Buddy and for the 20 behind him, Max Wheatley. Max, nothing he could do there. Hopefully Buddy is okay. That was quite the accident there for Buddy Hugo. I hope he's all right. Hopefully we can get some marshals over to him as soon as possible. That was quite the incident there. He gets pulled off of, and he's completely broken his front left wheel, has Buddy. Has completely been ripped off of the car. You saw there, he tried to just keep the speed on as he exited the corner. It was just a little bit too much. He got on the curb on the outside, which is obviously much wetter than the black stuff, and that just fired him off into the wall on the outside there. So quite the incident for Buddy Hugo there. We just hope he is all okay. Of course, collected by the number 20 of Max Wheatley as well. So hopefully they're all okay as well. I believe I'm being told in my ear that there is indeed a red flag, and yes, I can see it out of my window now. Red flag called on this race. With only 26 seconds to go, I would assume that we will call the results there. But yeah, not the best way to end that heat there. You never like to see an incident like that, but definitely a racing incident there. Just went a little bit wide, did Buddy. No fault of his own. Got on the slippery stuff on the outside, and that is where his and Max's race sadly came to an end. But as long as they are okay, and we'll hopefully see them out for heat number 2 later on today. But once again, let's just hope they're all okay. Now, looking back to the rest of the field, that is your number 12. Adam Turasek, he is still, well, in the lead. We're going to have to see how this one plays out. I'm not sure if we will simply call the result there as they went across the line last time, or whether we will go for one more lap. And it looks like on the timing it has been called as end. So I'll wait for that just to be confirmed, with the drivers going back to the pit lane rather than taking another race start. But I think we can call it there as a race win for Adam Turasek. And a very deserved one for that anyway. About 2.7 seconds in the lead was Adam over Ella Lucia, who was having a good race as well, was fending off Buddy and Max very nicely, despite Buddy and Max possibly having just a tad, maybe a tenth or two per lap more pace. She was doing a brilliant job at keeping them behind and not allowing for that door to open at any point. So a brilliant race from Ella as well. We look forward to seeing them all back out. But indeed, we are indeed in a red flag here. Welcome to anyone that has just joined the stream. If you've been watching for the last few minutes, we've come to a stop here at Rye House under a red flag. We had a little bit of an incident out of hairpin 2 with Buddy Hugo and Max Wheatley just coming together. And now those drivers being tended to at the side of the circuit, and the marshals just dealing with the barrier and the carts not looking too fantastic. However, with it just being damage to the front left of Buddy Hugo's car, you would hope that that wouldn't be too much damage, and then that means they'll be able to get his mechanics will be able to get him out for heat number 2 later on today. And there we can see a lovely, is that Stu Stretton? It looks like Stu Stretton, big man Stu Stretton out here at Rye House today, taking some photos. They're always fantastic. Stu is, of course, a lovely, lovely man. So great to see him out at Rye House, getting those lovely shots. I'm sure you can find him on social media, and you'll be able to find any shots of yourself, whether you've been racing or your child or the person that you mechanic for, whoever. They'll be able to take some. He'll be able to give you some fantastic photos that you can then get framed. And of course, what's coming up? Christmas. What's a better present than a photo of you going 70 miles an hour down the Rye House circuit? And look at that. We've got filled to the brims the stands here at Rye House. A little wave from everyone. Hello, welcome to the circuit. Braving the cold conditions today here at Rye House. But luckily for themselves, it's not raining. To be fair, that grandstand does have some sort of covering, but I know from being here previously when it's been raining sideways that hasn't helped too much. But luckily today, still bright blue skies and still supposed to be throughout the day as well. So, but you can see multiple layers on those people sat there in the stands. So just keep it nice and warm, and that's what we've got to do. But of course, if you're here at the circuit and you are getting a little bit chilly, we do have the cafe over on, well, the other side of the circuit from me. I am upstairs in race control, but over on the other side of the circuit, the main building, you can find the cafe, and you can grab yourself a little hot beverage, a little snack. I know they do lots of food and stuff over there as well, so if you get a bit peckish, you need some fuel to power you through some afternoon and morning of racing, then make sure you head over there and keep yourself warm, keep yourself hydrated, and keep yourself raring and ready to go. Well, once again, still under red flag here. It looks like we've actually been able to clear those carts off of the circuit now, so they're up and over the other side of the tyre barrier. And we should hopefully be getting back to racing relatively shortly. Once again, keeping themselves warm, a nice cup of coffee. People standing beside the circuit. But as I say, there's so much going on here at Rye House. It's fantastic. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. And I know from previous watching myself how big the London Cup event is, but I've never been here in person, and it is just fantastic to see this track, just a hive of activity. And of course, why would it not be? The racing has been fantastic. There we can see some more drivers in the pit lane. Some of our young drivers, definitely. Alongside some of our older drivers as well, you can see making their way off. I think that's Kyle Dunford in that ASR little number. But once again, if you're just tuning in, welcome, or if you're here by the circuit, welcome as well. Make sure you head over to Motorsport Radio. We're live on Motorsport Radio on YouTube, Twitch and Facebook. And of course, make sure you subscribe or follow, or whichever platform you're on, whatever they decide to call it. Subscribe, follow, share, make sure you get all involved and you're sharing it with anyone you think could be interested. Because this is top level karting here, top level British karting, and if you ever want to get someone involved and get their appetite whetted for brilliant British kart racing, this is the event to share, and this is the stream to share. Of course, alongside Motorsport Radio, of course, it's on the Right House YouTube and the Right House Facebook page as well. Make sure you drop those, a subscribe, a like, a share, a follow, whatever you need to do. As we say, a couple of drivers making their way back to the pits, a couple of drivers making their way to the collecting area. There's one of our older drivers out. And sort of with the schedule, we sort of go from youngest to oldest, really, with how it works. And it looks like we're going to get one of our younger ones underway very shortly. Now, I'm just trying to work out which grid this actually is. Because they look very much like Bambino Comers, but we've already had Bambino Comers, so possibly the IAME Bambinos out next. Of course, we've had the Sony Micromaxes now. That was the race that came to an end slightly abruptly there after an incident between two of the drivers. So that was Sony Micromax heat number 2. They, of course, had a heat yesterday. That's their second heat of the weekend. And indeed, this is the Bambino IAMEs out for their first heat of the weekend. As we said earlier, a slightly smaller grid for this one, but I can still imagine it's going to be great racing. We've got Charlie Page on the 33 plate kart. He lines up on pole position. It's Darren Dimitrov in P2. Then it's Chester Fawkes behind, and William Crombie rounds out row number 2. Row 3 is Oscar Kenny and Albert Farrow, and rounding out your grid of 7 drivers is Freddie Baker. He is on the number 92 kart. Now, I do believe, yes, indeed, there are parents and mechanics down on the grid, so we're going for another standing start here for the IAME Bambinos. Of course, we had a standing start for the Coma Bambinos, then we went back to a rolling start for the Sony Micromaxes, and now we're back again to a standing start for the IAME Bambinos. Seven drivers in total taking to the grid. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen, Charlie Page, the number 33, lining up in pole position. A 43.617 was his fastest lap yesterday. And he was a good 10th or 2 clear, I believe, at the front. Indeed, 0.2 of a second faster than Darren Dimitrov, who lines up alongside in that 65 plated kart. But still close on pace between all the drivers involved in this one. As I say, 7 drivers involved. Let's see how this one plays out. We get the thumbs up, the drivers look to the lights. And off we go then. Good start from the second row. Actually, the 38 moves to the inside. See if he can challenge for the lead here, and does. Forces his way through. Up the inside goes Chester Fawkes and takes to the lead already. Through the first corner, Chester to the lead. Under pressure for second place already is the 33 as well, but manages to hold on to it. Goes to the inside, shows a bit of wing, or a bit of bumper, as you would say in karting, and keeps on to that second place. But as I say, the 38 of Chester Fawkes to the front. Checks over his shoulder, can see Charlie Page right behind him. But what a start from Chester Fawkes. Read that start beautifully, and had clearly the best reaction times of the field, and goes from third to first in a matter of meters. But we come to the end of lap number 1. Still Chester in the lead, but right in the wheel tracks no longer is the 33 of Charlie Page. He goes to the inside already, makes the move stick, but up and under goes Chester Fawkes, and back through he goes. What a battle we've got on our hands here for 8 minutes in the IAME Bambinos. He might try it back down the inside, but thinks better of it, does Charlie Page. So he grabbed at it at the first opportunity, just allowed himself to run a little bit too wide through that first corner, and Chester read it beautifully, went up and under and back through down the inside.